Welcome to the Hellas Chrome podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Dyer. Thanks so much for joining us. Another week down, several more to go before we finally do this thing. Still much to be done. And to help us get there, we have our president of La Raza de San Diego and the producer of this very podcast, John Cross. John, what's up?
How you doing, Andrew? I am doing pretty well. Had a busy weekend over the weekend. We saw each other over the weekend on Sunday at the Bridge Barkada event.
Yeah, it was great. So much fun. Awesome. I had an awesome time.
You sound like it.
You know, sometimes you think you should, what you're watching soccer, we do soccer stuff, and you're like, you know what, maybe I should be playing soccer, not just watching soccer. So I decided to try to play, which I have before. I've played at Bridge Barkada before. I play with my kid. It's fun. He's a lot better than me, but he likes it when we're on the same team because it's like fun for him. But so it was my group in the very first game of the Bridge Barkada event, and I think probably 45 seconds into that first game, I was receiving the ball or I was backing up or something, and I stumbled and just like fell straight on my ass, like not like falling backwards, but like literally fell down like on my ass, specifically my left ass, the left like ass area, your seat. And at the time, you know, I'm a man. I just jump right back up. I play it off, no big deal. But as we kept playing, noticing a few things, not feeling quite normal, not quite right, not to get into it or whatever, but I've had back issues before. And so like I figured when I landed, because I was like in a seated position when I fell, I basically just like my spine just kind of compressed a little bit. And like I think
Compressed.
I
Yeah.
damaged, well, I mean, I have damaged discs, but I think yeah, so that was not cool, not a lot of fun that evening or the next day or today. Uh, I'm fine. I can move. I went and I worked yesterday. I went out and I did something I'm. It's not like when you throw your back out and you can't leave the house. Like I've been in that condition before, but you know, I do feel like somebody took a baseball bat to my left cheek, and so. But other than that, I did get a goal. By the way, I
Oh,
thought it I thought it was an own goal on the other team, but my son informed me that if you shoot the ball and it deflects off of the defender, it's not an own goal. It is a goal for you. So I did score a goal, so that was a moment for me. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Bridge Barcada, for those who don't know, this was kind of their last official organized street soccer session. A lot of the organizers have kind of moved on geographically or where they are in their lives, and they've kind of accomplished what they wanted to accomplish, where they've made street soccer a very normal thing. They don't need to organize these games anymore because there are these parks with these goals built into the courts where you can go and play at any time, including in Chicano Park. So this was kind of like their send off. And so when I was leaving, I saw, Steve was showing up and his wife Lydia, and Drew was there, in from Wisconsin. Brandon was down from Riverside. These are like OG Bridge Barcada folks. So it was good to see everybody and kind of catch up, and just all the people from the community who come out to play Bridge Barcada is really cool to anytime they have one of these special kind of events, and they really bring a lot of people out. It's always really cool.
yeah. It was a lot of fun. I arrived after you had stopped playing, so I didn't get to see you play at all. And it was a little bit before you
You
left,
didn't
but
miss. You didn't miss a whole lot, I will say.
I didn't get down there until they started at 3. I think I was down there closer to 3:30. But it was nice. It was nice to see everybody again, just as you said, and especially the original crew of Drew and Brandon that you mentioned who've moved away. Daryl, Carl, and Paul, who are still local but have families and have kind of things have changed in their lives over the last, gosh, I guess it's been about 6 years really since I started doing it, especially Under the Bridge. And I was there not for the very first one. The very first one I found out about through DK because DK had posted a picture about it. And then I think the second one I was out, and this was back in the day when we were playing underneath the Interstate 15 when Qualcomm was still standing and cleaning out that space under the bridge and everybody bringing in brooms and blowers and all kinds of stuff to clean up the space and build the little soccer field that we kind of built underneath that original bridge. And that was a lot of fun. That's when I started. I mean, I was already in my 50s, I guess, when that started, and it was a little hard on the knees to be running around on the cement. So I started bringing my camera around and filming, and it was fun. It was fun. I actually went back and watched some of the old videos that I put together a little bit on Bridge Barkada, and it was nice to see like where it started, some of the original visions that they had and what they wanted to do with this idea of getting lots of other groups started with street soccer, just making up teams, just find a court and go play. And that's happened over time, and eventually to actually get the pop-up goals at Chicano Park, it was about a 6-year process, but they kind of did what they wanted to do. And as you said, this was the send off for the kind of the original group, but groups are still playing there, at Chicano Park. And frankly, with all the new fields popping up around the county, we got groups playing all over. So it's good to see. I hope we get a lot more street soccer facilities around the county, and I hope we get a lot more people playing. And maybe as I look back at some of my early clips that I shot with them, like it was Paul talking about having a street soccer league, having communities, different parks kind of representation and play each other in a tournament and kind of play around the county. So maybe we'll see something like that in the future if some people want to just organize on their own and put that away from, say, these Chrome Ball Tour events, that the club is doing. But maybe that will help inspire some groups to just do that on their own.
Sure. Speaking of Chrome Ball, I feel like it's been a while since we talked about the club's events. Now I think we're still kind of in the midst of the summer of soccer, but if you weren't paying attention, we did have 2 finals on Sunday,
Right.
sandwiched outside of the Bridge Barkada event. So that was kind of the summer of soccer. Was a lot of watch parties for that. So I'm not sure if there's more what's left to watch. I guess there's Olympic soccer coming up, right? And,
We do have Olympic soccer. I don't know if there are any plans for the club to do any watch parties for that. I haven't heard anything. If there are, there might be, but there's nothing that I've heard. Their last official from what they have on their website for the summer of soccer, the last official thing is the Manchester United Real Betis match that's coming up July 31st. And that's not a watch party thing. I mean, that's the actual match at Snapdragon. And they have discounted, I'm guessing discounted. They have a ticket link, at least on the SDFC website. So you can, if you look up their summer of soccer, find the match, there's a ticket link. And there is, I believe, a promo code to go in and get some tickets in what is generally going to be the supporter section for matches, but to get some tickets there.
Nice. So did you watch watch any of the finals?
I caught the very end of the Euro final. I had to, as I probably, ad nauseum say on here because of my situation, I have to take a nap all the time every day. So I knew I was going to Bridge Barkada, so I had to figure out when I was getting my nap in to the afternoon so I could
Just
make
like
it
just
through the
like
day.
just like Joe Biden, you got to get your nap. So that, you know.
Just like a toddler. God, it is. Yesterday was the first day in God, I want to say almost 6 months that I missed my nap, and it was not a good evening last night, and then a difficult morning. So I have
So
to
do you
have
get?
those.
Can I ask? Do you get grouchy like a toddler? Like when they miss their nap, they get real fussy. Are you kind of? Is that how you are? You're kind of fussy. You're like, I don't like this.
No,
Like
you might have to ask my wife that. But no, what I really get is like I don't know, an
she's gonna like
electronic
cajole you
device.
to eat dinner because you no, I don't want it.
No,
Like,
it's like an electronic device that's on low power mode. My
mm,
speed of thought is it's horrendous. It's just terrible. I can't. It's hard to have a conversation. My tremors act up. I can't. I can't function. I mean, that's the bottom line. I can't really function. It's like being a little bit of a zombie walking around. So for that day, I had to figure out when I was going to take it, and I knew I wanted to get there to Bridge Barkada. It was going to be difficult. It was going to really be pushing if I tried to do a nap afterwards. So I did my nap beforehand and got up just to catch the very end of the Euro final, catch the goal there by Spain. Probably about 10 minutes before that, but after the England goal, but before the Spanish scored to
yeah,
win it.
I really enjoy watching watching England lose. I'm sorry if anybody is a fan of England out there, but it's just it's so boring. Like they just play boring. I don't know. You have some of the best players in the world on your team, but the way you play, like I like watching Spain much more. They are much more fun to watch, and it bore out. I think at the end with the result. I did get to see the Copa final, which was a lot of fun.
It eventually got to see it.
Yeah,
I,
so
I
the
was planning to come in for the second half and came in and caught all the news and
yeah,
realized the
so
match
the
hadn't even started yet.
it really does, and rightfully people were pointing out. Of course, I don't watch the pregame show. I cannot stand Alexi Lawless, and I don't. I mean, gosh, the American soccer broadcast. I mean, we had this in the World Cup. It's so bad. Like, I mean, even like the CBS Galazzo stuff is not great, but it's so much better than Fox Sports. And I know we all love Landon Donovan. I know he goes on Fox, but like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. Like, why can't we have like what they have like in Britain, like with Sky News and their kind of football commentators? And I mean, I don't know. It's just, I guess, like you don't want to care about the commentators in the pregame show, but like if they are so bad that you have to care, like that really says something about just how bad it is. Anyway, because the start was delayed, I guess we got more pregame show. There were, I don't know what's going on with the authorities in Miami, but people are rushing the gates. So they basically lock the gates so ticketed fans cannot get in. And like, there's this press and people are, you know, we've had, you know, disasters in this sport where people have died because of crushing incidents. And I just
Right.
don't understand why these venues and these security people are not, sufficiently briefed ahead of time as to what could possibly happen and what to do in these scenarios, right? Like at some point you cannot just lock the gate and let people get crushed against it. You have to relieve that pressure or people can die. um Now, people should not be rushing the gates. They shouldn't be crawling into the AC vents. Yeah, but people also should not die to go to a soccer match. And the president of Colombia's football federation, I'm sure you saw
Saw
this,
that.
was arrested in the charge of like felony battery or whatever. I guess he got into a fight with security personnel or something. I don't know. Seems like the kind of thing that they'll probably just, who knows. I don't have any information about that, but it's kind of funny that he was arrested, and it's the president of your federation. And then they lost, so that's a kind of a double blow for him, I guess. But just what a disaster, and a real kind of showcase about, from the American capacity to commentate on the broadcast, poor. The organization of the match experience, poor. The security and the operations side, poor. You just have poor performances across the board. This country's hosting a World Cup in 2 years. I don't know what we're going to do, how that's going to go. That's going to be in even more cities, with even more security and event stadium personnel who do not know this sport, and they do not know the fans. They do not know the risks involved. Like we say on this show almost every week when we talk about football fandom and supporter culture, like it's different. This sport is different. You have a different fan culture in this sport. I'd argue that it's better than a lot of other sports, but there are some bad that comes with the good, and part of that bad is, fans are very passionate, and that's good, but then there's a bad side of that too, where they're willing to do things that maybe your average security guard from Miami-Dade is not anticipating or equipped to respond to.
Right. And that's, I think, what a stark contrast between the organization the for the Copa America tournament and the Euros, where you see, part of the complaints people had were there were so many fans around the stadium who didn't have tickets. Well, there are in the Euros too. And if you look at it, they intentionally organize large outdoor viewing areas for both sets of teams, to go and watch the game, because there are so many people who are in the city at the time for the match, and not everybody has a ticket, but you plan for that. Or if you don't plan for that, you potentially run into these kinds of problems. And I guess shocked and not shocked at the same time. It just shocked at the way everything played out. And like you said, the potential for a crushing incident, from at least what I've seen, was the entire reason for opening the gates back up and just letting people in without even checking tickets. There was just too much of a risk of someone getting hurt. But then they had, reached capacity, which I'm not even sure how they did an actual head count, but they closed everything up. And then the people who were trying to do the right thing and trying to just wait and stay out on the perimeter and not get involved in the mass of people ended up getting locked out of the stadium and missing the match. And who knows how much they paid for it. And I'm sure we've all seen the videos of all the people being escorted away from seats because they're sitting in a seat that someone else had paid for. And other people just, I think, just giving up and just finding a seat somewhere else, like not even trying to get to their seats. But I've seen pictures and sort of just people sitting in the aisles and doubling up in seats. And I just absolutely crazy. I can't believe they let all those people in and kind of let the game go on with all of that. I think I guess you run the risk of canceling the game, and then you have other problems, other vandalism kind of problems, because people are upset. But you also run the risk of having a bunch of people in there and things going sideways as well with everybody inside. It's a no-win situation at that point, but it should have been handled much better from the walk to the stadium, the actual ingress there to the entire area. It just seemed like anybody could practically walk up to the gate, whether they had a ticket or not. And for a big match like this, I'm surprised.
Yeah, they didn't get that Snapdragon facial recognition technology up and running. The old, Snapdragon's like the panopticon, man. Like that is like surveillance city. You got to figure, isn't Miami Stadium, isn't that a pretty new stadium too? I don't know. I'm not in support of the security state or whatever, but
yeah, but Qualcomm's not their sponsor.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Also, not a host of the World Cup, so no worries there. But hey, clock's ticking. 2 years. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the World Cup because I don't know if you knew this, John, but fans are even more rabid during the World Cup than they are during the Copas. And there will be
You know,
even more people traveling here during the World Cup.
yeah, but I also think you have for the World Cup a slightly different, especially the way ticket prices are anymore. I think you have a slightly different group of people that come, people who can afford it. I think it's changing the demographic. It's getting more corporate like the
Yeah,
Super Bowl, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's just people are getting priced out, and I think people still want that experience. And I think this is what the Euros have done a good job with. That you can beat. Maybe you don't have a ticket to the match, but you could still be there, be close to the venue, and be in an outdoor event with a whole bunch of other people who support the
Hmm.
team with you,
Yeah.
and feel like you're a part of it still.
I think
And we've just missed that.
if I get to go to one World Cup match in 26 up in LA, like that will be like just one of them. Like I'm not even trying to go to multiple or go to like
Yeah.
the elimination champ. Just one group stage match. If I can even pull one of those off, that's probably what I can afford is one group stage match. Certainly not the U.S. It'll have to be other teams, but uh, you know, it's just the nature of things right now. So let's go ahead and you know pivot a little bit. Can we talk a little bit about La Raza and the latest with the supporters union? We are the longest running supporter focused podcast in San Diego. As such, we would be remiss if we do not talk about the latest in La Raza de San Diego. Now, we haven't had a meeting of the council since our last meeting, but um, we have started working in the background. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah. Um, to kind of touch on what you just said, the supporter group council does have a meeting on Wednesday of this week. So again, we record on a Tuesday, so that'll be tomorrow night for us. So they will be meeting and hopefully deciding on some things as well to help push us a little forward in all the work we're trying to do to build this union. But we do have some committees that were started a few weeks back. We have several of them that have begun having conversations in the La Raza Discord and doing some online meetings. I know the two of us are both in the Governance and Bylaws Committee, and we had a meeting last night along with several other people. I know the communications group has been doing a lot of conversations online, so is the membership one, and they're getting ready to have some online meetings. Our technology group has started because we have some new software we're actually trialing to see if we want to use it for some of our member support services. So any leaders who might be listening, check the technology thread in there. And then we'll be getting our events going here soon, along with our legal and fiscal affairs stuff as we get to doing our final bits of paperwork for incorporation, probably over the next couple of weeks. And then setting up our bank account and hopefully getting to the point mid-August-ish to collect memberships. At least that's the goal, if everything goes smoothly. So we got a lot of work in front of us and a lot more people helping out, which is great. I have them in the La Raza Discord. And again, to put it out there for anybody who's listening, if you want to help out with any of these committees and you want to get involved more and be part of the La Raza Discord so that we can that you can help lend your voice and your time, we would greatly appreciate it. So contact the leaders of your SG. They can tell you how to get in touch with those committees and help get you signed up so that we can get a lot of people helping us build this. Many hands make light work, right? That's where we're trying to get to.
Yeah. So that's, I do wish we were further along in the process and we had a little more to go with, but this is where we kind of, appeal to the audience every week. Like, we need your help. If you want to be part of this, if you want to help build this thing, we do need you. We need your time and your energy to do this. This committee work is really important. We have to get this part done in order to do the next thing. All the fun stuff doesn't happen until that gets done. So I don't want to harp on that too much. We talk about it every week, but I did want to make sure we touched on it, and of course, put out the call for volunteers again. I do want to say, I don't know if you saw this. I think it came out yesterday, and this is from the club, but they are actually having tryouts. Did you see the call for tryouts, John?
I did see a very short video. I want to say it was like 20 seconds or something, but I did see a very short video about that. And I think it was just a certain year, couple of years, right? I don't remember which
2010s
years
to
they were.
2012. So they're looking for 2010s to
2010s to
2012s.
2012s.
Right. So
Okay.
this would be, um, so your
12 to
2010s, that
14
is
year
your
olds.
class of 2028. I would imagine as your class of 2028, 2029, and 2030. Um, they are they are opening the academy in 2025, which is what the post said. Then that would mean they're starting with you know three grade levels, three or four. It sounds like the academy is going to pick up, and this is just from conversations I've had from people at the club. This hasn't been put in writing anywhere that I'm aware of, but they'll be starting at like the U12 level, right? So, or your U13s, which are your 12-year-olds. So basically, when you start middle school, is when they would pick up for SDFC's academy. And this would be a full residential, you know, soccer academy with classroom education and your football training. Um, I did see also that they are planning a girls' academy as well, which I think is a really great thing. Going way back even to when we were all very anti SDFC. Um, Even at those dark stages, we always said that this academy was like the good thing that this club was bringing, and I think for them having the girls' academy available is huge, because I don't know if any other MLS club has a girls' academy. Just the opportunities that will open up for local girls. And we always talk about the soccer talent in San Diego. Usually we're talking about the men's side because of some of the players that have come out of here, but maybe even more so than the boys, the girls coming out of San Diego's youth soccer
Yeah.
are really just top class players. Going on to play at big D1 programs, and some of them choose to continue into the pro ranks, but uh, these opportunities for these players are really huge. So yeah, if you're a 2010 to 2012, or your child is a 2010 to 2012, the club is having open tryouts now. Open tryouts, maybe not always the best way to get noticed for every player, but um, it's what they're doing. It's an opportunity, and you know what do you got to lose?
And the thing, since it's not just the SDFC Academy, this is the Right to Dream Academy. It's part of this bigger program, and they are a little bit different than other soccer academies. And I'm going to be, you know, they've told us lots of things that all sound wonderful, and I'm interested to see it in practice. I hope it's as good as some of the things they talk about, and not just the soccer part of it, but the education part and the connecting with the community part. That they talk a lot about how they want to really grow the individual as a person, and whether or not it pans out for them 3-4 years down the road that a professional soccer career maybe is no longer on the table for them. They just didn't develop the way people had hoped. Their thing they always come back to is, like, no one leaves the academy. They're never kind of kicked out. They stick with them. They still do the education. They help provide a college education for them, even if a professional career is not on the table. So I'm going to be very interested with this first, well, all the groups, right? This is based here in San Diego. So it's within our region. So San
Well,
Diego
I
and
would say
also
that
across the border.
they're having tryouts in Tijuana as well. So there's one in San
Right,
Diego, and then that's going to be, I think, at the surf, the polo fields, and then there's going to be
right.
one in Tijuana as well. So both sides of the border, they're holding these tryouts.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see how that develops and then how kids progress up through these academies to all the sister teams. And speaking of that, I want to pull out this comment because now I think is a great time to address this. So I had a question in the chat here. It says, a couple of months back, you mentioned SDFC will not field an MLS Next Pro team. And yes, that is what we've heard, that they will not field an MLS Next Pro team. Partly because of the way their academy is structured. With Right to Dream, not only do they have their academy structure, but then they have, I believe it's called Right to Dream International, which is like a traveling youth team, I'll say, because you're talking like 18-year-olds. But then they go and play around in other tournaments and youth tournaments and clubs, and that's kind of the development if you haven't already been signed with a team. So my understanding is there is not ever a plan for San Diego to have an MLS Next Pro team. But who knows? That might change in the future, but at least that's the indication that we've had is everything's going to be funneled more through the Right to Dream aspect in terms of development. And the whole MLS Next Pro was developed because not everybody had strong academy structures. We have a handful of MLS teams that have solid academy structures, like Dallas and Philly, but some other groups don't have very strong academy structures. And that was kind of a push to get everyone to develop something on their own. But this
Also
team
a
is
way
coming
to
in with their own.
subvert some of the second division
Of course.
competitors to MLS, if you want to take a cynical view. So without the MLS Next Pro, now that does not mean there won't be the youth MLS Next. I don't have any solid information about like the youth academy playing in MLS Next. I don't know where else they would play. These kids got to compete somewhere, and MLS Next on the youth side is where your LAFC academies and LA Galaxy and all the MLS clubs, field teams in MLS Next, the youth side. Now that is a different league, the MLS Next Pro. It
Right.
gets confusing, but MLS Next was first. That was the first thing that they had for the youth, and then Next Pro came later. The naming convention is a little confusing, but I would imagine that on the youth side, there's not as much of a conflict in competing with in MLS Next as there would be trying to field the pro team down the road for Right to Dream. So I mean, I don't know what else the kids would do at the academy, who else they'd be able to play against. So that would make sense to me, at least for them to compete on the youth side in that league.
And I haven't heard anything for MLS Next, if that's going to be a thing for them or not.
I don't think it's just not on the radar for the most part because it's youth, right? Like, we don't really pay much attention to youth unless you're like a college scout or a MLS scout or a parent. Nobody else is paying attention to these leagues.
No, except, I mean, maybe some of the fans, like they want to know who the possible young and up and coming players are. And, if we're starting with what looks like 12 to 14-year-olds, kind of in this first batch, then, it might be a couple years before the club starts actually fielding some youth teams as they start to build their pipeline of players and actually get people in there. Or who knows? Maybe they start next year. I don't know. But I haven't heard anything
I mean,
definitive
the talent's
one way or
here.
the other.
I mean, I can tell you right now, like, I know, we don't have the MLS club playing in MLS Next, but I know Chula Vista fields an MLS Next team at all the age levels, and they have competed with the MLS academies. They've won some of those matches. Of course, they've lost some, but they compete with them. I think Albion has MLS Next. City FC up in Carlsbad has MLS Next. Nomads has MLS Next. So those are like the 4 San Diego clubs that I can come up with on the top of my head that play in MLS Next. So, I mean, there are kids right now playing in that league who have the talent and ability to compete at that level. So I don't think they're going to have any problem fielding a team of 22, however many kids at each age group right away, because all the top players in San Diego, I would imagine, are going to be trying out for that.
Well, I agree in terms of bodies that they won't have any trouble, but what I keep hearing is they have a style of play that they want to do and everything. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to want some time to kind of build that culture and build the environment and the tactical sessions and the training sessions before they actually field a team, or they're just going to jump in with players right away and field a team, even though they haven't been kind of brought up under the Right to Dream model. I have no idea. I don't know one way or the other. They could very easily field a team right away if they wanted, but I just haven't heard for certain.
Well, it's exciting regardless. And if you're one of these crazy soccer parents, check SDFC's social media channels, and I'm sure it's on their website as well for information about those tryouts. Like I said, it's in San Diego and in Tijuana, so there's going to be 2 opportunities. Depending on where you're at.
Yeah. So let's switch gears to the season tickets, because those things have come out and prices. We didn't really talk about it last week, but some more information came out, I think, between the last show and this one. And people are looking around at tickets and wondering about the supporter section, because that's not available in what they've released so far. And we keep getting lots of questions about season tickets and supporter section. What is the supporter section going to look like? The super short answer is we don't know yet. I mean, these are conversations that are happening with the club and negotiations. In our view, what we would like to see, and I think what the club would like to see, is that all 5 sections behind the goal there on the north end, 136 through 140, will be the supporter section. That is the safe standing area that has those seats that can be locked in the, I guess, upright position so people can stand. So ideally, it's that entire section. So again, we don't know for certain. That's part of the conversations we're having with the club. But then prices, people ask, again, we don't know. These are conversations we're having with the club, but it is more than likely that the season tickets release will be the last thing to be released after they've done the lower bowl. So as they start doing all the different sections and get those out, that supporters group will probably be the last section. So I know that doesn't help in terms of timeline, but if they've done this part, expect some other releases in the upper bowl and sections and what those are going to be like. And then eventually it will be the supporter group section. So likely we're not going to hear anything about that. I would guess probably not in the next couple of months would we hear anything definitive around the supporter group section or prices or anything else.
Yeah, the only thing I ever hear about season tickets is that they're too expensive. I don't know. I haven't even looked at the prices because I can't afford it either. I'm obviously I'm involved in supporter stuff. I'm going to be in the supporter section, so it's really not relevant to me. All these other tickets, but what I've been told from people who are on the email list and are looking at those tickets is that it's nuts compared to the Wave. You're really
they're pricey. I was a little surprised.
You're really paying a premium. Hey, I don't know what the economics are like, but I mean, I think if you spend $500 million on an MLS expansion team, you're probably looking to recoup some of that. Or I don't know. I don't even know if this is a money making investment at that price point. Like, I don't know what the break even point is for the club. I would imagine it's a matter of years. Just the whole business side of MLS is very tough to get a handle on. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The structure, the pay scales. So I don't know. I would hope that once they have enough sales at whatever these premium level seats are, that I hope that the prices at some of the maybe the higher seats, come down in a way that makes a difference to people. Like, I don't want people to be forced to come to the supporter section just because it's the only tickets they can afford, but then they don't really want to be a supporter. They really don't want to stand, and they don't want to do, like, there's got to be a place. There's got to be cheap seats that are not the supporter section, is basically what I'm saying. Like, you've got to have some kind of nosebleed, some kind of cheap seats that are not in the supporter section, so that, there is a place for people who, want the economic advantage of a cheaper seat, but not the obligation to stand and chant for 90 minutes.
Well, right now the cheapest season ticket works out to $50 per game in that lower bowl. And that's pretty pricey, I think. Because season tickets are usually a little bit cheaper than individual match day tickets.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't go to a lot of Wave matches, so I don't know what Wave is charging. But
I think
the
it's
snap.
15 in the supporter section.
Oh, yeah, that's supporters. I'm talking like lower bowl, right? Because the other matches I've been to in that stadium, the Dortmund match and the Gold Cup match with Panama, yeah, I paid. Oh gosh, I can't remember what I paid for my lower bowl tickets. Kind of on the corner, but it was like over $100 a seat. I wanted good seats, so I sprung for it. But yeah, I would hope that those the higher seats, I would hope they get under the $30 price point per match up there in some way, shape, or form. Like, you've got to. This cannot be a millionaires only fan experience. You've got to have
right
room for regular people.
Yeah, and just the last thing I would add, as we're getting ready to open up 2025 memberships fairly soon for La Raza, is like, if you do want to be in that supporter section and want to be part of it, one of the best things you can do to ensure to get a seat in there is to make sure you sign up once those memberships open up. So I know we've been talking about this most of the summer, and I mean, obviously every day we're getting closer, but we're getting those last few things put together. We got a lot of work groups coming together all at the same time to hopefully make this happen about mid-August. So if that can happen and we have that out there, sign up for your membership within La Raza and pick an individual SG to affiliate with, and that will give you your best opportunity to get those tickets.
And this will also give us the best negotiating position, because
Exactly,
the prices of those tickets have not been set in stone. That is not determined right now. So if we want the tickets to be $20, under $20 per match, we go to the club and we've only got 500 people signed up for La Raza, I don't know how far that number is going to go with pushing them to bring the price point down. But if we come at them and we've got 4,000 people signed up for La Raza, more people than can even fit in the section, well, then now we're talking. Now we're at a strong negotiating position to make sure that we get the cheapest per game price for our season ticket members in the supporter section. So just be on the lookout. Obviously, when it comes, we're going to be shouting it from the rooftops to sign up. But we are going to have a single member portal. You'll go through and pick your SG, And all of those numbers are going to get tallied up into one big number that we're going to present to the club at some point in the future, when we start to really get serious about, finalizing the price of these season tickets. So obviously we want them to be as cheap as possible. And the best way to do that is to have the most people as possible, signed up to, I should say you're not obligated to buy them if you do join La Raza, but this is the number that we're going to be having in our pocket when we go to those negotiations.
Right. And just as to tag on to that, we will be making a formal presentation to the club probably sometime in mid to late September, in order to be officially recognized. And this is all part of that process of having signups, and even before that, this committee work. So again, we have lots of people working hard to get us into that position. And just one more plug: if you want to come out and help with anything, talk to your SG leaders. We'll get you signed up on committees so you can help us, so that we can get to that point to be officially recognized. And then really, hopefully, the rest of the fall and winter is spent just recruiting and building and getting ready for the match day experience.
John, I don't know. Do you have the calendar in front of you? I wanted to. Do we have anything this next week, coming up this weekend, that folks need to know about?
Well, I mean, as just a total side thing for anybody who had experience. Well, yes, sorry. One thing: the Pride Parade. Pride's coming up this weekend. So, big shout out to anybody who's going out to celebrate with Pride. There was a link that went out that your leaders had available to them to sign up for Pride. I know the club is doing something, I believe, with the Chrome Ball Tour, and they had a group of people that were going to march with them. And that link has been out. I don't know if it's full yet for the people who have signed up on that link. So Pride's going on, and that was a small group. It was going to be about 25 people. That's a number the club had set of how many people were going to be joining them as part of the parade. So I don't know where those numbers stand. So you got Pride Parade this weekend, and the next weekend. I mean, that's our big thing. Saturday. So sorry, still this weekend. The Wave have a match, but it's back at Torero. For a match, and I forget who they're playing. I think it might be part of the that new equivalent of Leagues Cup that the NWSL is doing. But their match is going to be Saturday at Torero, and I know some people who have been there before, whether it was for Wave matches originally or the Loyal before. I know there's a lot of people looking to try to get seats in 109 again to kind of go back to Grandma's house and relive the experience a little bit. So you might want to see if there's still some tickets available. I did see something today, at least in the locals Discord, that there were still some tickets available and some available in 109. So those are the kind of side things that are happening, not directly with the club. Next weekend, though, is Comic-Con. Are you a big Comic-Con person, Andrew? I want to find out before I go to the rest.
Hell no. Hell no,
Oh.
John. I mean, listen, man, I don't go to the beach. I talk about this on the pod all the time, but I don't go to the beach. I don't go to Comic-Con. I don't go to the zoo, man. I don't go to SeaWorld. I don't go to the fair. And you are crazy, man. You are crazy. I don't know.
You just go to soccer matches.
I go. We'll see. I don't even know about that anymore, man. I don't know. The crowds, like I can't with the traffic and with the parking and with the and with Comic-Con, the preacher people outside. And I will say, I have gone down there just to like people watch. I think it is a fun people watching outing in, if you want to go and sit and have a beer somewhere and just be where there's a lot of energy. That is, I get that. But like, I used to go. I used to, get on the computer and like try to get my my passes, and I've been successful at that before, and I've gone. When my kid was little, when he was like 3, 4, put him in his little Spider-Man costume and take him to Comic Con. But you know, even then, we're just going to like shop for toys. It wasn't like I'm going and sitting in Hall H for like the Marvel. Hell no. That line and that, I don't know. I mean, is it fun? Is this fun for people? Like, is it still fun doing that stuff? Are people still excited for Marvel movies? Like, it's 2024. It's 20 years of these fucking movies, man. I can't do it. I can't do it. They are like scraping the bottom of the comics bin for new characters and like storylines. And like, are you kidding me? Like, who is this for? Who's it for? I don't even know who's it for. Like, they used to be kind of for everybody, right? Like, it used to be like, oh, I never gave a crap about Iron Man. I never read Iron Man comics, okay? But when the Iron Man movie came out, it was like a thing. Everybody was going to see Iron Man, right? Like, okay, it's a thing. Thor, I never read Thor either. Thor was dorky as hell. When I was, a kid buying comics, it was like X-Men. It was all about X-Men. That was the only comic anybody cared about. Maybe a little Spider-Man. Then they did all these foil covers and the 2099 series, which I was really into for about a month. But I don't know who these movies are for. I don't know who is still excited about. I know a lot of people are really excited about it, I guess, but I don't know who they are. I don't know who these movies are for. They're not for me. But yeah, I used to drive Uber and Lyft, to make extra money, especially during the summer. And oh my gosh, Comic Con. I think that is what really killed Comic Con for me, was trying to like be a rideshare driver during Comic Con and in the vicinity of downtown during Comic Con. What a nightmare! Like you sit in traffic for half an hour to pick somebody up, and they want you to take them 10 blocks to their hotel. And so you make like $4 on the ride. Just absolutely ridiculous. I started turning off my app when I was anywhere near downtown, not doing it. Anyway, well, I'm sorry, John. What was your question? It's Comic Con.
You're giving very strong "get off my lawn" vibes over here. I I love Comic Con. I have only been once since you had to do what you talked about, get online and do the tickets and be there like right as the time changed and get in the queue. But I remember going, when you could walk. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when you could just walk up, like take the family and walk up and buy tickets. And I was shocked the first year I couldn't do that. Like, what do you mean it's sold out? Like and then ever since then it's been difficult. But I usually will go down with one of my sons, and again, all my kids are adults now. But still, at least one of them will go down and transit in, and I like the experience. I like you said, do people watch? There's so much that goes on outside of the convention center that you can see and do that yeah, I'm going to be the exact opposite. I love it. I transit in. I have the best time. I'm disappointed that I'm going to miss it this year because I'm going to be out of town because it's a little later than it usually is. It's usually around now, like this last weekend or this coming
I
up
want to
weekend.
say
It's the
it's
last
always
weekend in July.
July 15th. Like, this is the
Yeah,
time. It usually is this kind of date range. I don't know what was happening to where they changed it. Maybe if there was like a show that I was like really into, I'd probably feel a little differently, right? But like right now, I don't have a show, right? Like I don't have,
yeah,
it's not
it
like
does
during
make a difference.
like when Game of Thrones was like good, like it was Comic Con was kind of exciting, right? Like they put all the North Remember stuff on the buses, like it was kind of cool, right? Like when that show was at its peak. So I think that was definitely different. But now we're in like phase 14 of Marvel, and like the Star Wars. I don't know what's happening with Star Wars. I cannot keep up with the TV shows and the universe and everything. It's just diluted so much and gone off into, I need things to go back to where they. You know what? If they made a good X-Men movie, like how about we get like a good How about we do X-Men? the only good comics group, the only good hero group there is. I don't know why they went with the Avengers for this huge series of movies, right? X-Men are just, God, they're so much better. They're so much cooler. And what do we get? What do we get? Fucking Wolverine and Deadpool. Come on. I mean, God, Lee, who was asking for this shit? Who's asking for it? You know what I want? I want I want fucking Cyclops, like his lasers coming out of his eyes and him like accidentally decapitating someone and like just becoming like mortified of his own power and like I want like hardcore X-Men stuff. Like wow, Deadpool and oh, let's break the fourth wall. I'm so funny. Look at me. I own a soccer team. Man, fuck yeah. I can't. Okay.
I'm a little sorry I opened this can of worms now. This was a big lead in to talk about a thing with one of the supporter groups in La Raza. So I'm going to get straight to the point now before we get sidetracked more on Marvel and Avengers. But for anybody who might not be aware, one of the supporter groups within La Raza is the 18th Battalion. And their members started that. They love to do cosplay, Star Wars cosplay in particular. And they are doing, along with Comic-Con this year, a cosplay contest. It's open. I don't know if it's open beyond the supporter groups, but it's certainly open to all the supporter groups. So anybody who enjoys doing cosplay, take a photo of your best cosplay, send in a photo with a description of who you are. It does not have to be Star Wars related, but just your best cosplay. You can submit the entries via Instagram at 18th Battalion, or you can email 18th Battalion at Gmail. So it's number 1, number 8, TH, so 18th, and then Battalion, all as one word, for both the Instagram handle and the email address. The deadlines for entries will be this Sunday, July 21st, and then starting on Monday, it'll be a head-to-head knockout-style tournament where they're just going to pair up the photos of the different cosplay, and I'm guessing it's going to go to a vote and people will decide and they'll have a eventual winner, and there's a special prize that is unknown at this time, just a special prize that will be available to the winner, and that will be announced on Sunday, July 28th, which is the last day of Comic-Con for this year. I imagine that since we have one of our SGs that is heavily themed into cosplay and Star Wars, that I would guess this is probably going to be an annual thing that they do. By the way, if you're interested, I know in the locals, we had some people who were heavy into cosplay and did some great outfits, some really impressive stuff. So maybe we can get some of those involved in the contest, and anybody in any of the other supporter groups. Feel free to send those in. It would be fun next year, especially once we get going and kind of build this a little more and build up to it in terms of Comic-Con. But I think if I put my president hat on, this is some of the things I'm looking at as we are moving forward this year in our planning year to kind of be like, oh, we should circle back to this next year and make sure we plan a little better to do something around Comic-Con because it's such a big event, and around Pride as well. So certain things that we can do better just as an organization once we are officially incorporated and organized, and not just loosely organized as we are, but at the moment at least. And to do one last thing in terms of La Raza, we mentioned it last week because Chavos were doing a watch party for the finals on Sunday and also collecting backpacks for their backpack drive. That is still going. That was not a one-day thing. That event happens, I believe, in mid-August, where they actually have all the backpacks together. So check the socials on Chavos. Check the socials for Chavos to find out more about their backpack drive and how you can either bring a backpack to donate or just donate some money so that they can purchase some backpacks and have those ready. I believe this is the 4th year that they've done this for the community. So it's an awesome community service project that they do. And I know I've helped out before, and I like to get as many people helping out so we can help as many people in the community get them set up for school this year when they get ready to go back.
Yeah, it's always an awesome event. They do the best. I feel like their community outreach, of course, Adrian takes the lead on a lot of this stuff. Really good job. Does a lot of work with it, and always important to support them. You know what was good was Logan. I don't know if you saw Logan. You know,
We're back.
I was just it was really dark and just I thought Logan was good. I want give me more Logan. Less less Deadpool and more Logan. Not together in the same movie. Yeah,
All right, we
and I'm
got
cool
it
with
out
Star
now.
Wars. 18th Battalion. It's cool. I'm good. I mean, I have Star Wars shit on my desk. Lest you think I'm an all hater, I literally have shit on my desk from Star Wars, so I'm not a hater on everything. Um, but yeah, you know what else is cool at Comic Con is they do like exclusives, like for the toys and stuff. I used to get the
Yes.
exclusives. Of course, I just sold them all on eBay and made a lot of money off them. But that's kind of a cool thing. I got this one year. They had this big Star Wars character box, um, and it had a special character inside. It was Jar Jar Binks frozen in carbonite. Um, it's incredibly valuable nowadays. Like this Jar Jar, it was a Comic Con exclusive, and I had it. And then I think this is probably 2013, 2012 when they released it. I sold it in like 2016, 2017 for a couple $100, and now it's worth, So yeah, they didn't should have held on to it a little bit longer. The Jar Jar and Carbonite. Anyway, do we have more soccer to talk about, John? I'm just going to complain about
I think we're done.
Marvel Studio. It's you know what the tie that binds is Disney. Disney owns all of these properties, so I don't know what that means. I don't know what it means for the future of movies or Comic Con, but I am curious to see what is being promoted this year. Like what's the sign that's going to hang off the hotel, right? Like what's going to be the big promo items
Right.
this year. It's always interesting to see because I think last year the big studios didn't come to Comic Con, right? It was kind of a more subdued atmosphere, but this year
As
they're
we're
back.
coming back from the pandemic, yeah, it's been. I mean, because we had those couple of years where it was basically digital, right?
Yeah.
So, um, I did have one last thing I thought of, and we didn't get a chance to talk about this in our pre-show before we came on the air. Is I will not be here next week because I'll be out of town. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's the plan for next week? Are we gonna have a show next week? Are we finding a guest host? Are we taking a week off?
Um, I would say unless we unless there's something that we have to get out there, unless there's something changing or happening, I don't want to do a show just to have a show, just to come on and complain about Marvel movies for 20 minutes. I don't think people want that from me. So I would say stay tuned. Unless something happens, unless there's some news or some stuff that we need to get out to y'all, I will go. I will do it. But I think, barring that, we'll just kind of hold off until John gets back. But if something changes, if is news or something, then yeah, we'll do a show.
Okay, so let me just the one thing I don't think we mentioned that would be the following weekend is finally the next Chrome Ball tour stop because it's been 2 months since there's been any Chrome Ball tour stops. The last one was Vista at the end of May,
That
Memorial
was
Day
two
weekend,
months
I
ago.
think.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So the next one's in Solana Beach. It'll be at La Colonia Park. They've slimmed this one down. I don't know if this was always going to be, this small of a window, but it's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Most of them have gone, much longer or later in the afternoon. There will be some 6v6 tournaments, men's, women's, and boys and girls, but those age ranges will be 2012, 2013 for both boys and girls. For those tournaments, the information is on the club's website if you want to sign up for any of those. But it is going to be a much shorter one from 9 to 1, and that will be Saturday, July 27th. Comic-Con weekend. So that's when that one is, up in Solana Beach. And I believe that's it. So, like you said, if we're not going next week, we will return on. I guess I need to pull up a calendar here because I have to think about
what
that.
day will it be
would
in
be
Australia?
the 30th.
That would be the 31st in Australia, right? But you'll be back.
Well, yes, but I will be back.
Okay.
So June 30th should be our next show.
All right. So
Unless something major
July
happens.
30th, I would think.
Sorry, July 30th. Thank you.
So yeah, stay tuned. Watch your socials, watch your Discord, and we'll let y'all know. But unless there's anything else, if you want to yell at me about your favorite comics, find John on Discord, and he will pass those messages on to me.
Yeah, John won't care.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Good night.
Bye.